Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about talent and how it's not necessarily the be all and end all. And I think what's more important than talent is work ethic. It's better to just keep throwing yourself against the wall and being unable to climb it than it is to just jump over the wall with ease, because what's the kind of satisfaction there? You know, the whole kind of thing of people saying, oh, it's better to work really hard, start a business, grow it and start everything from scratch and make yourself up from nothing than it is to, say, win the lottery. Obviously, one of these things is the more rewarding of the two. And that's because you've actually taken the time to improve your own skills naturally over time, rather than just having this, say, God-given talent or this just immense luck. You know, it's good to have a continual attempt and to continually fail than it is to not try and then just succeed on the first attempt. Because what kind of story is that once you actually do succeed? What kind of story is it to help other people grow and inspire them to just say, oh yeah, I tried it once and it just worked really well, so I just carried it on, you know? Like one of my favorite bands is a band called Dream Theater. They're not they're not my favorite band, but they're up there. And they kind of irritate me because, and it's not really their fault, but their story is just a bit boring. They went to a music school and then they dropped out of the music school to start a band, and then they started a band and it went really well, and then bam, they were famous. It's just not, you know, it's not particularly much, you know. It doesn't really inspire you to, you know, to make you think that you can do this as well, that you are capable, because you are much more capable than you think you are. You know, I for many years sort of sat there and just like, I'm useless, I can't really get stuff done, I'm not even all that talented. Who gives a shit if I'm talented? Who cares if you're talented? Why does it matter if you're talented? If you go out there and make stuff, it doesn't really matter if you're talented. What matters more is if you're genuine. It's better to genuinely fail than it is to inauthentically succeed. So why should you continue to just put yourself down for a lack of talent? Because it doesn't matter, I don't think. I don't think talent is the be all and end all. I don't think talent is the thing that dictates why someone likes something. I mean, some of the most famous musicians and filmmakers and actors and stuff aren't the best ones. They're not the most talented ones. Like, I like a lot of, I've started getting into pop music, right? But I don't think I could sit down and say that they're some of the most talented people ever. But it doesn't matter because they're some of the most popular people ever. Popularity and success doesn't necessarily equate to talent. There's surely some kind of vague correlation, because there's an awful lot of completely untalented people that no one's ever heard of, and these people are probably more talented than them. But at the same time, what's important to sort of take away from this is the fact that just because you don't necessarily have talent doesn't mean that you don't have a voice, and people are here for your voice, not your talent. They're not, you know, if you make your image all around how you can do sweep picking if you're a guitarist, and you can do all the really technical Joe Satriani stuff, that's all right, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to become the best guitarist ever. It doesn't mean that you're going to be, you know, succeeding as a guitarist compared to someone who might be able to do something that's genuine, even if it's just two very basic chords. It's fine to do stuff simply. It's fine to recognize your lack of talent, and it's fine to just sort of, yeah, you can go past if you want. It's totally fine to sort of sit down and just go, I'm not the best, but why should I let that stop me? Because why should you? You're free to do what you want. You're free to try things and fail and try again. Apologies for the cough. That's an example of a lack of talent. My lungs have a lack of talent for intaking air. But you know what, it's, in general, I think what's important is that we're all in the same pond. We're all trying stuff. We're all trying to make expressions of art, and we're all trying to get ourselves out there in some capacity. Even if we're not like actively making things, we all have that, you know, hobby or passion or that kind of thing that makes us feel like ourselves. And it's important to keep nurturing that, because the more you do it, the better you will get, and the more you will acquire talent over time anyway. So why bother worrying about what's going to happen anyway? It's like it being 6:30 and worrying about what's going to happen at 8 o'clock. Nothing's going to happen at 8 o'clock. It's just that more time will have passed. And as more time passes, you will gain more talent and you will gain more ability to do something. as you keep doing it, you learn what works, you learn what doesn't, you learn what's best, you learn what's worst, etc., etc. And as you continue to do that, you find your voice. And once you find your voice, then the world is your oyster, mate. You can do whatever the hell you want, because nothing can hold you back, because you are you, and no one can ever take that away from you. And it doesn't matter if you are someone who is maybe quite, you know, down to earth and simplistic and not particularly funny, or you could be like the funniest person on the planet, or you could be some sort of mix of the two, or you could be something entirely different. You know, it doesn't matter. Because every single person who has gotten some huge explosion of success didn't do it because they tried to play it safe. They did it because they tried something new and they tried something weird, and it worked. So keep trying weird stuff, and eventually you will get somewhere. You will eventually succeed if you just keep trying new and weird things, and you keep, you know, exploring outside the box. Because, you know, we all obviously have the box, and our box is different from everybody else's box, but you still want to explore outside the box. You want to see what's going on in someone else's box. You visit their box and you kind of go, ooh, yeah, no, I like this person's box a little bit more. This person's box really nice. So, you know, you've got this kind of to and fro of finding your own voice amidst the sea of everybody else's voice. What makes your voice distinct? What makes your voice relatable? Which means it's what makes it sort of similar to other people versus what makes it unique. Because just total uniqueness isn't brilliant on its own. It's useless on its own. I could just do like the most avant-garde outsider art, and sure, it'd be unique, but what could people really take away from it? Other than, ooh, yes, that is challenging. You know, it's fine to try stuff, and it's fine to fail, and it's fine to carry on. And that's part of the beauty of the human voice and the human expression, is that we all fail many, many times. And it's not just limited to small sort of nobodies like us. It also applies to the huge multi-million-dollar sets. Look at Madam Web. What a failure that was. But, you know, that's fine. I feel like Sony's probably learnt their lesson from it, and if they haven't, they will at some point, and they'll try a different tactic. And sure, while Sony Pictures might not be the one that's doing super well now, that's not to say that they won't eventually find their voice and their footing and continue to improve in that sort of way. And, you know, the people that at the top that are doing really well, like Marvel, for instance, for the past 10 years has been doing incredibly well with their cinematic universe. And whilst it's not for me, I can recognize that it is absolutely astounding and revolutionary in what it's done for the cinematic landscape. It really is extraordinary. But their empire is slowly falling, and new voices will come to take it. And that's the trend and the ebb and flow of the human zeitgeist, I suppose, in the artistic realm anyway. So it's, you know, you can always fill in one of those little voids that come around. And I don't just mean in the big scale, I mean on the small little scale. Like, anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible. You can get big doing whatever, and it doesn't, and even you don't, maybe you don't want to get big. Maybe you just want to find your voice, and that's it for the sake of it. And if anything, if you do it with that in mind, you are actually more likely to succeed, because do you know what it is? It's sort of like, you know, if you're waiting for a bus and then 3 turn up at once, or like, say you're looking for a partner and you really want a partner and you feel really bad about being single. And then once you've kind of come to accept your singleness and you're fine with yourself and you're fine in your own shell, that's when suddenly you find yourself enthralled in a relationship. That's kind of what happens, is you always get what you want when you no longer want it. And that's basically the point of this video, is just don't worry about your talent, because it doesn't matter. It's not the be all and end all, because what's more important is the authenticity of your voice. What's more important than talent is knowing that you are you and no one can take that away from you. And that's basically the point of this video. So thank you so much for watching this one. Sorry about the leaves. It's the middle of autumn. Whee! So yeah, looks quite nice. It looked a lot better in real life actually, but what can you do? It's because I don't have the tripod. I could have probably set up a way better shot if I started with the tripod. But, you know, limitations get in the way, and talent isn't necessarily the be all and end all. You still kind of got the point. As long as you can get the point of something and what they're trying to do, and if you can resonate with that, that's more important than how successful they are at making that point. sometimes you listen to someone make a really good point, but they're not very good at, talking or explaining themselves. And so you're trying to listen in and try and hone in on what their point is, and you end up giving that sort of person a lot more of your thought and your attention than if someone compare talking to your friend to listening to a podcast. Your friend is going to make the point in a really roundabout way, and they're going to use really stupid metaphors and stuff, but you're going to sit and listen in because you kind of know them and their sensibilities, and two, it's more relatable because it's someone that knows nothing just like you, compared to, say, listening to experts on a topic talk about that topic. It's harder to sort of get into that. And I don't mean necessarily with academic stuff, I mean more in a subjective field like creativity or like, I don't know, self-improvement or that kind of thing. Because different things work for different people, and that's kind of fine. And you will gain talent in the end anyway, just from repetition. So don't worry about it so much, it's fine, everything's all right. And yeah, love you all. Leave your comments in the thing below about how you are not very talented, but don't let that get in the way. Yeah, and let me know about your last project, because I bet it was pretty neat. I bet it was better than you thought it was. So yeah, you can go past if you want. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. You have a good day, yeah? This cough is pain in the ass. Hey up everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about short form content, your TikToks, your Instagram Reels, your YouTube Shorts, your Facebook Reels. There's probably more of these kind of things out there. These vertical videos that are all like 1 minute long, and they have that sort of text that subtitles each of the videos. It's done by an AI, so it's always a little bit wrong. You kind of got all these sort of videos, and then it's the scrolling thing. I really dislike it. And this video is sort of to try and air my grievances with it, because I do need to get over it. I need to get used to the fact that this is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and it's actually been here for quite a while now. So I think it started off with Vines. Vine launched in, I believe, 2013 or 2014, and it lasted for about 4 years, and it shut down, I think, like 2018. And then that got replaced with Musical.ly, that then got replaced with TikTok, and TikTok was the one that really launched us into the stratosphere, this huge scale onslaught of these short form videos. And now short form content is kind of the new thing. It's the big thing that people need to sort of get on. And for instance, with this channel, I know that I should be making these videos into short form little 1 minute snippets of some of the best bits, because I know that that would probably do really well. And it's not that I'm not going to. I am going to play with the devil in that kind of regard, but I don't really want to. And the reason I don't want to is because I feel like it's feeding into this endless doom scrolling that kind of happens. And I feel like the doom scroll is kind of the big issue with the internet at the moment. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it would be a case you had pages. So you would get down to the bottom of the page, and then you would click the next page, and then you would scroll down the next page. But once you get onto page 3, you feel a bit bad because you've gotten to page 3. You never normally get to page 3, you're normally on page 1. Now there's none of that. You just scroll up super high. Hello. So now you kind of, instead of having a 12, 15, 20, 30 minute sort of thing, you instead have a lot of very short 10 to 30 to a minute long videos, so 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute, possibly up to 3 minutes. But I don't think those are particularly popular. I think the golden zone, the golden space of this is about 30, 40 seconds for these short form clips, because what you tend to do is, at least for me, what happens is I'm in the morning, right? I'm in bed, and I'm a bad person for getting up. I really struggle to get up in the morning. So you get on your phone, you see if you've got any texts or anything. You're like, okay, a couple of people are texting me. All right, I'll get back to them. So what I do is I go onto YouTube, and I'm like, okay, I want maybe some music, or maybe like a bit of a podcast, or just some YouTube video, just something to fill my brain with some activity so that it brings me to life a little bit. It's like the coffee before the coffee, if that makes sense. So you get on it, and you sort of, because your brain is still quite weak-willed. My willpower is very weak in the morning because I'm still really groggy. I've just woken up. I'm not thinking at full capacity. And so it's in those moments where you get these quite head-graspingly, like, clickbaity kind of titles. And you know that because it's a short-form piece of content, it's only like 30 seconds, so you might as well chuck it on, see what it is. because it's not going to take much of your attention anyway. And then what happens is you watch that and then you scroll down because it's just a natural motion, whoosh, and you see the next one, oh, okay, whoosh, and then you start going on the comments. And you start scrolling down the comments whilst you're watching this thing in the background, which has already got like Subway Surfers or whatever on the bottom with the podcast clip that they've stolen at the top to kind of, engage your attention even more. And now you're going a step beyond that and reading the comments while that's going on. So it's like that level of short attention span isn't even enough for you. You've already lost your short attention span from watching a bloody YouTube short of a TikTok. And so you start going through these comments and they incense you because, like, particularly what I find is there's stuff like trad wives or like, you get, sometimes mine comes up with bullshit like, hello, like never anything wholesome like this. You end up getting like crap like Andrew Tate and really nasty people like that coming on. And I end up getting incensed by it and I get angry by it. And the comments incense me even further because it's just going so much further. Because the comments all agree with this stuff and it's like I'm talking to an alien race that wants the worst for humanity, and that just gets my brain thinking really grim stuff in the morning. And then that negativity isn't further incensed as you scroll further and further along because the algorithm attaches to the fact that you stayed on this for a long time and you gave it your engagement. When it wasn't positive engagement, it was very negative engagement. It made me feel bad. It made me feel worse as a result of watching it. And I'd rather it did not exist full on. And I don't like to say that about works of art. I have a very broad view of what art is. And I really hate the fact that I have to technically call these things art in my definition of it. But I kind of do. Art isn't necessarily for the benefit of humanity. It's just a tool of expression. So there's some people out there that have really horrible things to express. And that is what I feel like the short form thing is festering. And I know it's because of that's what it thinks I like because I end up giving it my attention. And so I try and actively just quickly go past it. Whenever politics come up, boom, go away, quick, now. Get onto some like Neil deGrasse Tyson talking some bollocks about space. And okay, yeah, that's all right. That's just some like nebulous whatever kind of fact that doesn't have any political culture war bullshit attached to it, and that's all right. And then you end up going on the comments anyway, and the comments are all so negative. I had to uninstall Instagram because genuinely you go on Instagram, and I had to use it for my business and stuff, so I'd be on it a fair bit to try and promote my old business. And I would end up on the Instagram reels, and on the Instagram reels it's so much worse than say the YouTube shorts, because the people on there, I think there's a lot of bots for a start, but some of the attitudes towards like women, ethnic minorities, and like, just life in general is just absolutely fucking foul. And I really can't stand it. And I think the fact that this sort of content proliferates that type of thinking is part of why I dislike it so much. But even if it didn't do that, I think I would dislike it just on the sense that how much can you really communicate in a minute? I mean, I don't know how long this video is at the moment. I feel like it's probably like 4 or 5 minutes in. And it's 7 minutes in, so how could I possibly communicate this much stuff in 1 minute? Unless I really spoke really, really quick and I did everything like this and I had to do everything really scripted and everything, I start talking like this. And there are people that do that. And there's that very quick TikTok voice that kind of goes around. And there's also tricks like starting the video in the middle so you get people confused and then they end up watching it twice to see the entire thing because now they've seen it from the halfway point to the halfway point of the next one. So you end up getting more audience retention. And it's basically a hub for trying to game the algorithm and because gaming the algorithm basically means trying to manipulate an audience into doing what you want. I mean, the call to action is technically a form of that, but at least it's upfront about it. It's just you politely asking, hey, can you subscribe? Can you like the video and leave a comment? That's all right. But with this stuff, it feels like you're manipulating them into watching the video more or leaving some kind of comment. On Instagram, I don't know if they still do it because I've uninstalled Instagram, but there was that thing of like, double tap this to see the thing, to see the shape that it makes, or that kind of thing. Like there'll be a little heart-shaped void in a basic like black and white image, and you double tap it and the heart comes up and it fills that space, and now you've technically liked the video. So when I was on Instagram, I kind of do them just to see what it looked like, and then I would unlike the video again. I'd unlike the picture, and even doing that's probably gained it some boost on the algorithm, and it's been seen as a form of engagement because I have technically liked the video. So I don't know, all of these tricks and all these things make this platform of short form content, which isn't just YouTube, it's TikTok, it's Twitter does it as well, Facebook, all of them do it. They've all ripped off TikTok, and TikTok then came from Musical.ly, which came from Vine. Which at least Vine had the thing of being 6 seconds long, so there was that sort of trying to fit as much into that space as possible. But now they're a bit longer. It's not even that as a gimmick anymore, it's just that this is the new thing, this is the new norm. And I hope as time goes on, it stabilizes, and this really nasty stuff is basically an echo of, say, 2015, 2016 YouTube, when YouTube started to get really, really ubiquitous. Extremely ubiquitous, more so than it was before. And the response to that was an extreme offensive kind of quality to the videos, and people wanted like things to be as offensive as possible, and you had, you know, just really nasty things being said about people and all this sort of drama and stuff. I feel like I'm hoping that that's what's going on with TikTok and all these things at the moment, is that it's just an echo of, say, 2015, 2016 YouTube, and that this, you know, Andrew Tatey, alt-right, incel sort of bullshit is going to slowly go away. But even if it does, I don't know if that's my whole issue with the platform in general. I feel like there's not much you can express with that amount of space. There's not much you can do with the amount of time that you're given in that regard. And I feel like, what are we going to do going forwards? Are we going to keep this up? Are we going to start seeing films made with TikToks on TikToks? Are we going to see like a 20-part movie come out on TikTok that's like an hour-long special? And, you know, it's like, sit around for part 2, next 3-minute scene, and no, and the next 3-minute one, and so on and so forth. What's going to happen? Is TikTok going to replace YouTube? I really hope it doesn't. But at the same time, I also want YouTube to no longer be a monopoly. So it's a very confusing topic, because I don't actually have any of the answers to any of these things going forwards. Because I try to be constructive with these things, and I feel like with this, all I can do is just sit and point and jeer and go, God, look at all this bullshit that comes up. Because it's so brainless as well. Like, when I find myself scrolling through it in the morning, I find like an hour goes by, and then my mind just snaps out of it. It's like, Josh, what are you doing? Get off that. And then it's like, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry to my own brain, and I get off it. And I'm like, okay, thank God. And I feel like I've just come out of this really awful trance. And is that what it's going to be in the future, as you know, these creators start to get even better at manipulating their audiences into engaging with their content? Is that hour going to turn into 2 hours? Is it going to become a case that they get so good at manipulating their audiences that everyone's in it? Because like, my nan watches TikToks now. My nan watches TikTok. Like, people in my life that, you know, were sort of people that I would think were way too intelligent to ever get into this TikTok stuff, suddenly started getting into it. And it really freaked me out, because I was like, oh God, it's going to happen to me. And it did happen to me, because YouTube Shorts started coming out. And once that happened, I couldn't escape them anymore. I can't uninstall the YouTube app on my phone. It's physically impossible. You can't do it. I'm sure there's some hack to doing it, but and I know there's that YouTube Advanced thing, but I tried to do that. I couldn't get it to work. So I'm stuck with this. I'm stuck with this TikTok bullshit. And I don't want it there. I really would like this whole genre of content to go away, and for, you know, more genuine expression and more in-depth discussion and thought and art to, you know, proliferate throughout this beautiful thing that we've got called the internet. Because it is amazing, the fact that we can democratize the creative landscape and take power away from the established media that comes before us, and we're able to put the power in our own hands and you know, do a direct creator to the audience sort of thing. I think that's really beautiful, and I hope that we can continue to do that. And I hope that TikTok just becomes a thing of the past, but I'm not optimistic about that. I'm really not. So yeah, that's going to be, I think, the video. Thank you so much for watching this very pessimistic video. Bit of a moany one, I know, but I don't have much good to say about the platform. It's not that I've never seen a TikTok I've enjoyed. I've seen a couple I've enjoyed, but a couple in probably tens of thousands at this point, because they suck you in. They really suck you in. I don't like it. So that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Are there any TikToks you like? Are there any things like that you enjoy? Or do you find yourself getting sucked in as well? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Please share them. Would love to know. Yeah, that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye. This is really comfortable, this spot. Like, I'm gonna have to get up at a certain point and I don't want to. Oh God. Oh, I need to get up. I feel like I'm in bed right now. Oh God, okay. Go on the YouTube app and then suddenly start scrolling through things on my phone. That'd be a good way of ending the video, wouldn't it? You do just look like this. Yeah, it's shit, isn't it? Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the term content and why I kind of dislike it. So what is content, first of all? I think it's an amalgamation of all the things that have come from the advent of the internet sort of age, where there is so much stuff out there, films, videos, articles, audio, songs, promotional pieces for all of these various things, tweets, Facebook posts, all this sort of stuff. It all needs a term, right? And I think content is a good term for describing these things. However, I feel like the term content has become more of a thing about you're out to make content, not to make works of, say, art, or to make films, or to make certain things that can challenge, and rather to make something that is just designed to be put on in the background while someone does the dishes, or tries to go to sleep, or has a bath, or whatever. And it's all about, you know, chasing algorithms and like audience retention and all this sort of stuff, rather than it being about a true expression of what's going on in terms of what you're trying to get across in whatever it is that you're making, be it an album, be it a film, be it an article, be it a book, a novel, a autobiography, you know, all of these various things. And I feel like with content and, you know, the advent of algorithms and mass doom scrolling kind of access to, you know, random people kind of like myself, you probably just found this because, you know, you went on the YouTube homepage and you saw this, you're like, oh, I wonder what that is, I wonder what this guy's on about. And you've clicked it and you're sort of not really giving it much of your attention, which is totally fine, because I do the same thing with other people kind of like this. You kind of watch it, you have it on in the background and you sort of see what's going on. You might hear one bit and it's like, oh, that bit kind of sticks with you. And that's fine. But I think the further you go down the, you know, content creation sort of thing, you notice that there's an awful lot of stuff being made that is just being made for the sake of garnering clicks, garnering views and attention and all this sort of stuff, rather than because they actually have something to say. They just want to be heard, but they don't actually have anything that they want to get across. So they're just sort of shouting into a void and hoping that a stadium will come and have a look at them. And, you know, I get why they want to do it, because, you know, everyone in the sort of past 10 years who's been in the sort of media industry at large has been trying to crack the secret of the algorithms, has been trying to, you know, become the next sort of big, you know, online persona, and been trying to do certain things that can, because obviously having an online audience is probably one of the most powerful things you can have now in the media landscape. If you want to make a film and you've got a pre-built-in audience for that film, that means that you're far more likely to sort of maybe garner potential investors, because they see that there's a potential to actually recoup their money here, because there's actually an audience that would be interested in this sort of thing. So people everywhere that are in this industry want to get an audience, but they don't necessarily know what to do with that audience. They don't know what they want to provide that audience. And so they just make crap. They just put stuff together for the sake of just trying to make stuff. And it becomes this thing called content. And you know, I've done it as well. Everyone has sort of done it, because you've got to do it to try and find your own voice. But as time goes on and you keep sort of doing stuff, it sort of becomes a cynical thing that I've noticed with a lot of content, particularly on the YouTube shorts and the TikToks and all that sort of stuff, where it's about they realized that if you incense an audience and you make an audience angry at a certain thing, that garners an awful lot more engagement. You're going to get more comments of people going, oh, I bloody hate this, oh, this thing's so bad, or, you know, oh, and then they share it with their friends and their family because they've gotten annoyed by it. So they're like, check this out, isn't this so stupid? Oh, bloody hell. You know, that kind of thing. And that gets shared further and further. Whereas I think with positivity, it's a lot harder for that to work, because it's a lot more of an internal isolation-y kind of thing to watch positive sort of content. Like this sort of video here, I presume this isn't a video you would watch with like a big group of friends. This is a thing that you might watch on your own, or maybe with like, I don't know, your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever. Maybe like, you know, 2 people max watching it, not loads and loads and loads and loads of people, like you would maybe with, say, I don't know. I remember when I was a sort of like teenager and Sausage Party came out, and me and a load of friends went to see Sausage Party just to laugh at it because it looked fucking awful, and I honestly don't remember a single thing about that film, so it can't have been that good. But I think now that people have recognised that you can just go out there and just make crap and slop that people will just eat up, particularly with the YouTube shorts and the TikToks and all this sort of thing, it's become so easy now for people that are just cynical grifters essentially to come along, put zero effort into stuff, game the algorithm, game the audiences, because that's what an algorithm essentially is. It's the whims of what the audience wants, and the algorithm works according to what the audience actually wants. And if you're manipulating your audience into engaging with your content, then I don't know, this is where I feel like the term content is taking us. It's taking us to the commodification of art as a whole, because technically these things are a form of art. And I don't like calling it that, but what else would you call it? I mean, content, yeah, but everything's content at the end of the day. How's a building not content, you know? Because it's a thing that's there and it has contents within it. A book has a contents on it, but it is also content. Is content just for the online space? Is it for everything? I don't really know. Like that's another thing, is it's such an all-encompassing term, but it has this sort of negative quality attached to it, where if you're making content, if you're a content creator, it feels like a lesser thing compared to if you're actually going out and making, say, albums, music, films, videos even, you know, where it's about conveying whatever it is that you need to convey, because that's the point of creating stuff. It's because you've got something to say, so say it. And you know, at the moment I've noticed my algorithm gets filled up, my like YouTube homepage and my suggested videos. There's a lot of these like Family Guy related things where it's like these sort of AI voices that read them out, and they have these thumbnails that are white, and they'll have like some demonic looking version of Meg or Stewie or whatever, and it will sort of be like, he did what? With a big question mark, and it'd be like the top 30 worst things Stewie Griffin ever did, or whatever. And you look at it, and it is literally just recounting bits from Family Guy. And I wonder about the people that make that sort of stuff. And it's like, is this satisfying for you? I mean, beyond just looking at the numbers, is this actually satisfying for you? Do you feel a resonance with your community, with the people that you're sharing this with? Do you feel like there's a purpose to you and what you're expressing? Or do you feel like if you were to disappear, that no one would actually lose anything of value? You know? Take your favourite, I don't know, filmmaker, creator, musician, right? At the moment, mine is, I'll take Neil Young, right? Take Neil Young. Imagine Neil Young just ceased to exist. He was just erased from history, right? All his albums are gone. I think the world would be a bit of a worse off place for it, because there's loads of good stuff he made, you know? Harvest Moon and all that, it's brilliant. But say if that Family Guy YouTube channel just disappeared and its entire existence was just forgotten about as a memory wipe on every single person that ever saw those videos. Would they miss out on anything? No, not really. They would have found another video to watch while they're cooking or while they're having a bath or whatever. They would have found their own way around it. And that's where I feel like content is, for me, as a term. I feel like it represents the commodification of art. And I would like to come up with some better term for the amalgamation of all artistic things, which I was using the term media for a fair bit in place of content, because I feel like, you know, we're making media, we're making forms of media, and like everything is media. You know, this YouTube channel is a media thing. This film production company, Miramax Studios, is a media thing. The Guardian is a media thing, etc., etc. But apparently it's already kind of got a term for, you know, being about the journalism sort of side of things. So fine, we can't use that. But we can surely come up with something that doesn't have the negative connotations that content does as a term. Because I feel like I'm not alone with this. I feel like other people surely would agree that content has this negative implication to it. It just sort of feels like it's cheap. It's like McDonald's fast food. It's not a holistic sort of emotive,
resonant sort of thing. And that's not saying it needs to be like, Come and See, or like, some really hardcore like indie bloody art house picture or something. Like I want to make a sitcom. My dream is to make a sitcom. A sitcom is essentially just old school slop, essentially. It's just sort of something that you put on while you're making your dinner, while you're like bored, or while you're just doing stuff, And it's just a nice little thing that you can kind of go back to as comfort food. I like that. And I don't think content in that regard, in terms of easy to access, sort of easy to digest material, is a bad thing. I think that's an incredibly good thing, actually. And I will do a video about comfort food viewings at some point in the future. But I think for this, what's important is if you're making stuff, just think about why the audience is interested in this, and try and make it something where they can't get you anywhere else. They have to come to you for it, that you add something of your own personality, of your own self. Even if you're doing, like, if you're uploading other things, like I've got a YouTube channel where I just upload things that I'm interested in, like, like live shows from bands I like and stuff like that. I just upload like whatever I want, really. And it's a nice little thing to sort of have, because whilst it's not my content, it's at the same time stuff that I am holistically interested in. I remember getting a couple comments like, you're a channel that does this, and you also upload things from this show I like. Are you and me the same person? And I was like, oh wow, that means there's a little resonance there, because it's not like they're gonna sit there and really care about what I'm making, because I'm not really putting any real effort into it. It was essentially a marketing account, really, to sort of, for me to figure out what the algorithm kind of is like, and what it's like to upload certain videos and see the trends of various view bell curves and stuff like that. That's kind of why I did it, as market research rather than as like an artistic fulfillment. And if you're making things for artistic fulfillment and you can monetize them as well, like, I'm not saying you have to be a fucking like super true artiste, right? Because I'm not one of those either, and I feel like if you go too far down that way, you end up becoming pretentious, and I don't want to be pretentious, but at the same time, I want to be real. And I feel like content is a lack of real, in terms of not necessarily realism, but just, it's not showing you anything that you can't get somewhere else. And at that point, it just becomes disposable, it becomes pointless, and why would you ever go back to it? And that's kind of what the term means to me. But it's also being used to describe these truer, bigger works of art. Take, for instance, a guy called Bobby Broccoli, who makes these really intricate, like 2-hour long documentaries about like various scientific scandals and stuff like that. He puts a lot of effort into them, so much research, and tells the story in a really conveying way. And technically, what he makes is content. The same way that Family Guy thing, channel that I was talking about, is also making content. They're both making content, but the difference is one is actually fulfilling on an artistic level and to actually engage with, because it's providing you something unique, and the other one is just crap to put on because you have no other brain capacity to put on anything more challenging. And it's not that apologies, it's not that there isn't a place for easy to digest slop. It's not like, reality TV exists for a reason, and people like reality TV for a reason, because sometimes you don't want to be challenged, and sometimes you're not in a headspace where you are capable of being challenged in that kind of way. You just actively don't want that because it would hurt you. And that's fine, and we should make stuff for that. But I think what that should at least be more entertaining and interesting and stimulating than some of the stuff that's coming out in the really grifty sort of sides of the YouTube and TikTok and all the other ones. Wait, you ever scroll down Facebook recently and you see like the shorts that get recommended to you? The ones that come up for me, it's basically just like softcore pornography, and it's the shittest jokes ever. They're terrible. There's no humour to them at all, but they're obviously trying to be funny. They're miserable. They're so bad. But at the same time, they've got like millions of views each, and I don't understand why. But I think it's because they've gamed the algorithm. They know exactly what people will click on. They know why they'll click on it. They know what they're going to get out of it, and they know what to provide. And they know that they only need to provide a barest minimum. And so now everyone's providing this barest minimum, and it's getting this general culture of the audience to lower their expectations. And as time goes forwards, we're going to start meeting new minimums and then new minimums under that. And I feel like if we continue down that route, we're going to start seeing the degeneration of art as a total thing. and we're going to see much, much less in the way of true representations of people and more just general mild milquetoast critiques of the world at large. And I don't want that. I don't want that to be the case. I want the world to feel a bit deeper and more full of you know, real individuals that are trying to express themselves as best they can, even if they fail. Because it's better to watch someone that's, you know, doesn't necessarily know what they're doing, but is truly them, compared to someone who seems to be all slick and professional, but at the same time feels kind of phony. I recently got back into Ralph the Movie Maker. I used to watch him quite a lot when I was sort of like 17, 18. I've started getting back into him again and watching his old videos. And to be honest, his videos aren't all that like good looking. I remember at the time thinking they looked really good, but they actually look kind of crap. But they're nice. They feel like a true representation of who Ralph is, and the way that he critiques the films that he's watching and the, you know, the jokes that he kind of makes. While some of them might be dated to the 2016 sort of culture of YouTube, they're so fun because it is him. The same way that, I don't know, every other YouTuber that is a true nice personality that people attach to, you attach to because it's them, and you can't get that anywhere else. You can't just Google channels like iDubbbz and then just find another channel that's just iDubbbz like, and then just get into him the same sort of way. It's because it's not the same thing. You're not going to get the same sort of thing out of him. You know, you ever find an album that you really like and then Google albums like this and then start listening to some of them, and you can't get that same thing in that other place. And that's what you need to be providing. You need to be providing something unique. And if you can provide something that's unique, then you're sorted. That's it. That's all you're doing. And if, you know, you might not be getting the views now, but as long as you remain yourself, you know, and you keep trying things, something will end up happening. You'll end up, you know, making an impact on at least one person. If you can make an impact on one person, that's kind of cool. Not necessarily it's even the goal of this, it's just kind of fun. It's nice to make people feel happy and contented with themselves. That's why I started making things, and I've always wanted to create, because I want people to, you know, if you have like a really sad sort of Wednesday afternoon where everything feels a bit miserable, you ever, like, when that happens to me, I start watching other sort of things, and I might binge watch a few things, and it sort of makes me feel better. It makes me forget about the troubles in my life, and I want other people to get that kind of thing from these videos, and I hope that's the case. So yeah, I hope you liked this video about why I dislike content. I hope it made some vague level of sense and I didn't ramble on and go in too many different directions. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you all have a great rest of the day, and let's try and figure out a new term instead of content that doesn't have that negative implication. Something that can, you know, inspire rather than to sort of feel like an admission. Like, I feel like if I was to say I'm a content creator, that's almost like I'm admitting it rather than being proud of it. So let's come up with some new term. If you come up with any cool ideas, you can even just make up fucking words, I don't care. Let's come up with some mad ass word, like use all the weirdest consonants that never get used next to each other or whatever. You know, let's do something like that. Or maybe let's do one that has every single vowel. Let's do that. Yeah. So yeah, have a good one. Take care. Love you all. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk about your pieces of art and the effort that you go towards making them, and the heart and soul that you put into it, and how you can balance the heart and soul that you put into your works of art compared to your life as a whole, because you are not a conduit for your art. That is going to be probably the title of the video, and I want to really emphasize that early on, because there is no point in you suffering in any untold magnitude for the sake of a creation. No one need die, no one need be maimed, no one need be hurt, you know, emotionally or physically, in any capacity to create works of art. That's not to say that making films and all this sort of stuff is easy. Obviously there'll be challenges along the way, but if you feel uncomfortable at any point doing any of this stuff, then please stop, because you're not a conduit for your art. You're not a lightning rod, okay, to capture lightning in a bottle. You are a person with their own personality and their own interests outside of this creative field. Don't let this overtake everything, because it is very easy to let this whole thing become your entire personality, and many people do, and I am and have been one of them. like for the past 3 or 4 weeks when I've been doing these videos, I've basically been waking up, focusing on the videos, going to bed, waking up, focusing on the videos, go to bed, wake up, film, go to bed, wake up, film, go to bed, edit, wake up, you know, etc., right? And I keep going and going and going and going and going, right? And I realized that I was neglecting my personal life. I was neglecting my friends and sort of my family and that kind of thing. Not in like a huge way. It's not like I refused to speak to them, became like some kind of shut-in or something like that. You know, I still keep up to date with stuff and I still hung out with them occasionally. But I realized I wasn't giving those moments my 100% compared to this, which I felt like maybe I was giving this 150% and then only giving 50% to my personal life. And you know, in the past week, I've had one of the best days of my entire fucking life. In fact, I want to say it's the best day of my life, bar none. And I don't actually see how it's physically possible to surpass it in sheer quality, right? I won't go into details about it, but it made me sort of open my eyes and sort of realize that I can balance this stuff better. And as a result, I don't feel like I've become a more interesting person. I feel, you know, more whole as an individual. I feel less like a shell that creates, you know, these pretty pictures, and more like a fleshy fucking thing that, you know, walks around and has interests and talks to people about stuff. You know, even though I was doing that before, but now I believe that I'm still doing that. If that makes sense, that sounded a little bit all over the place, but I think you need experiences in life to create works of art. You know, no one that was raised in a vat is going to be able to create anything that's particularly intriguing unless it's about that theme of not knowing about the world, I suppose. But if you wanted to do stuff that's, you know, general and about the world, then you want to experience the world. You can't do, say, a relationship story if you've never been in a relationship, because it's just going to be shit. You can't do, I feel like you shouldn't really do like an army movie if you've not been in the army. That's why I like Platoon an awful lot more than I like Full Metal Jacket, because, you know, Oliver Stone actually fought in Vietnam, and so his portrayal feels a lot more genuine to me than Stanley Kubrick's. Not to say that Full Metal Jacket isn't a really good movie or anything like that. I rewatched it a couple of months ago and I realised it is actually a lot better than I thought it was. Before I kind of used to think of it as 3 separate films that were kind of just chucked together, but now it felt a lot more holistic and yeah, so that was all right. But yeah, in terms of you and what you're doing and what you're trying to get at with your works of art, if you're making a film, you're making your first film, or you're working on your final thesis or whatever, you know, and you're putting all of it into that, you're cramming everything in and you're giving your all to that, but you're giving nothing to your personal life. And I don't just mean like hanging out with your friends and enjoying stuff like that. I mean just in general, your own life and your own interests outside of this filmmaking thing or this creativity fucking thing, right? Because it's not enough to base your entire personality on, is what I'm saying. You need other things, and you need to realize what those other things are and at least be conscious of them to some degree. So like I don't know, recently I've realized stuff about myself that has been quite helpful in unlocking that not external, sort of separate from the film thing. This, you know, traits that I knew I had before, but now I'm sort of aware that I have them, and I can bring things up better. And when I'm in social interactions and stuff, I realize I'm a lot more capable of bringing things up, particularly since I started doing these, you know, videos as well. But in general, I feel like it's hard for us as creators and so on, filmmakers and musicians and all the kind of people that watch these videos. It's hard to make that separation because you're making stuff that is you. You're putting your true self out there, but at the same time, if that's all you're doing, then it's not really the true you. It's a manufactured version of you that you are putting out for the sake of approval. And when I realized that, it kind of made me, it changed the way that I approach the way that I do these videos. And I kind of like the change. And I feel like over the course of the next month or so, you'll start to see a change in the way that I talk and the way that I actually do the videos and like the thumbnails and stuff like that. Because we can't just be expected to be machines for art, because that's not what art is. It's not industrial. And when we have tried to industrialize it, we have created these behemoth, works, like, all the epics from the Hollywood thing. You've got so many grand works and that involve so many people coming together, so much work that, multiple people must have put their entire life on the playing table, 18, 19, 20 hours a day thinking about it. And you need to sometimes switch off and not think about your project. And I struggle with that a lot, because I like my project. I like Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. I think it's fucking cool. And I think that people are going to enjoy it. And I'm really proud of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So I think about it a lot. But if you think about it too much, you get kind of egotistical and in your own head about it. I was watching the video that I put out yesterday just to make sure that I didn't make a mistake that I thought I made, and it turned out I didn't make that mistake. And I realized that I put on another video of mine after that, and then I got 10 minutes in and I was like, okay, you need to turn this off before you literally fall in love with the sound of your own voice. Because the thing is, right, because I think in sentences, right, and I kind of think the way that I talk. So it's kind of like that. And when I listen to these videos, it's like I don't have to do the thinking, because the past me is doing the thinking for me in the current. So I have to stop and unlock that, because after a few minutes it gets really uncomfortable. But that's the nature of, talking to the camera and like having your own voice and that kind of thing. But I think with regards to you and your work and, making a balance between your personal and your public life, you need to find something that interests you outside of something that can be commodified for the sake of expression in this public plaza, full of people saying, hey guys, I made this, hey guys, I made that. And it's like, we're all making stuff, okay? We're all putting stuff out there, we're all bearing our heart and soul out. And, it's not even cool anymore now that we're all doing it, Before, well, no, I don't really agree with that. The idea that now it's bad, but before it was okay. Either it was always okay or it's not okay, full stop. And so that, by that logic, it's always okay. Just be careful with where how much effort you're putting into these things. Put a lot of effort in, but don't let it overtake you. Don't let it become you. You are not your art. You're not a conduit for your art, and you are not ever, ever going to change that. Because if you do, then you're going to lose yourself in the process. And I don't want that for you, and I think you watching this don't want that for yourself either. So, yeah, I think that's going to be all. Apologies for this being a bit of an echoey sort of video, but I like this shot. It's kind of the silhouette sort of thing. So I thought that was kind of fun. But if it's come out a bit echoey, it's come out a bit echoey, so fuck it. Yeah, take care. It stinks a piss in here as well. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.